Hello, this is the Provoked Prawn, and this is the Elgato Wave XLR. This is a tiny little interface for your desk that will allow you to plug in an XLR microphone and connect it to your PC using a USB cable. And this is particularly interesting for a number of reasons. First of all, it's a really interesting, compact and affordable alternative to the GoXLR, which has been my mainstay for a long time. And yet it also has that fantastic software through Elgato's Wavelink Software, which I'll show you a bit later in the video, but was similar to what was used in the Elgato Wave 3 microphone. And that microphone is fantastic because it allows you to customize the audio and route in a multiple number of different sources into one single source for broadcasting. So if you're streaming, if you're a streamer or a content creator and you want to create some really cool audio setups with a variety of different audio sources, then this is the way forward. This is an improved device. This is also interesting because this little thing is able to run a Shure SM7B without a cloud lifter or any extra support. It will work with dynamic and condenser microphones, and you have 48 volts of phantom power, and I'll show you more on that later on. But at standard it will work on a Shure SM7B, and that is a difficult microphone to power. And the AVerMedia interface that I reviewed previously wasn't able to do it. The GoXLR is. Many people think you need a cloud lifter to help give an extra boost in gain for the Shure SM7B, but this tiny little Wave XLR is able to do it. And I am using that microphone now with this interface to talk to you about it and show you what it's like. There are some minor complaints about it though that I'll talk to you about when we get to the software, and you might have picked up on as I'm doing this voiceover because you may be hearing some background noise. However, in the box you obviously have the device itself, a little setup guide that talks about the basic setup of this unit, how to connect it to your PC, what you need to download, and what is then possible. You'll notice, for example, that there is a large volume wheel. That is a multi-function volume control button because it allows you to not only adjust the gain on the microphone, but also to switch to your headphones and adjust the volume on that, and then also a mix so you can go between your mic and the headset audio from your PC and choose what sort of levels you want to get out of that, way you want to hear more or less of yourself. There's also a capacitive mute button on there, so you can press that mute button without having a click. You'll see in the box it also has a USB-C to USB-A cable. So it doesn't even require any power from the wall, which the full-size GoXLR does. So you're just plugging it into your PC and that gets enough power to then power the microphone, which is really impressive when you consider something like a Shure SM7B, which requires a good bit of extra support usually. The rear of this device, obviously 3 connections like I was saying, USB-C, 3.5mm for monitoring purposes, and the mic connection. So you need an XLR cable that plugs into a microphone in order to get that connection, and then obviously the headset for monitoring. But that is the setup, that's basically it, and that is the basic premise of it as well. And theoretically you don't even need the software running in order to do this. I have actually been using it without the software a bit, just to dabble in that and test it with different microphones. Hardware level is really easy, just plug and play, and then you have that mute button, and you can obviously adjust the gain of the microphone, as I said, with this dial, as well as switching between those other things. So you see on the bottom left of the device, you'll see a little mic sign, the headphone sign, and the mix sign. You can basically switch between those by pressing the volume wheel in. You'll see the volume wheel also comes off, and that's because you can get custom design ones and custom faceplates to make this thing personalized to you and look quite different. One of the things that's really striking about it is just how small it is, and I'll show you in a second. Just how it sits on the desk and how it stands up in terms of size. Point of note is on the right hand side you have the 48 volts of phantom power. You can switch between that in the software or with a hardware button press as well. You press and hold that down and it turns it on and off. You don't need it on for the Shure SM7B, but you might do for condenser microphones. So you have the choice to go between those, and that enables you to use a variety of different XLR mics on this one. And you can see the setup here with my full-size GoXLR, and just how tiny it is by comparison. So if you have limited desk space, the Wave XLR might well be a good option because it's really tiny and doesn't take up much room and is really straightforward to use just out of the box because you just have that simple volume control dial, really easy to use. Now, just to quickly demonstrate the setup process, I've recently unboxed and reviewed the Audio-Technica AT2035, which is a condenser microphone with an XLR interface, and I've done a video separately on that where I was using the Wave XLR and the GoXLR. So if you want to hear audio comparisons, you can check that out. But this is a condenser mic, and the Shure is a dynamic microphone, so there's a difference between them, but they both will work with this, which is great. So it gives you loads of different options in terms of what you're using in there. You'll notice that the ring around the outside of the volume control turns red when it's muted, but you can still see the audio levels for the various things there. So you see that I'm on the mic level there, and you can turn the gain up and down, but because it's muted by the mute button on top, it won't do anything. Now, to show you just how powerful this is, we're going to dive into the Wavelink software. So this software allows you to control various different settings. You'll see here that when you go through the initial setup process, it basically talks through what you're doing with the microphone and how you're setting it up. So initially what you want to do is make sure that your output device is set to your headphones, because that's what we're monitoring it through. So in Windows Sound Settings, we set it to headphones, and then we have the mic in as the Elgato Wave XLR. You see that on the right. And then when you go through this setup process with the Wavelink, you get to then choose the headset that you're using. So you can see we're using the headphones plugged in to this. You then have access to a variety of things. And you can see here you have the options for phantom power and the condenser microphone and dynamic microphone. You also have a level input gauge that lets you know what level your voice is at, and the idea here is to basically not hit the red lines depending on whether you're using condenser or dynamic. Currently using the Shure SM7B, and I'm avoiding this right hand line where it goes all red. So you can adjust the gain levels in here until you reach a point where you're close to that, so you'll basically be able to be heard without needing to shout, and that will then give you a good level for that. It is worth bearing in mind, though, that obviously adjusting the gain high will result in some background noise problems, and that's one of the issues I've had with this setup. With the headphones, you can also adjust the volume, the output volume, and the mix between them. So in your headphones, you can choose whether you're hearing more of your mic or less of your mic and more of what's on the PC. You also have a low-cut filter down here for 120 Hz and 80 Hz, which is said to take out some background hum from or surrounding audio, but I've tried it and I can't get it to remove the fan noise that I can hear. Now, normally with a microphone, with a Wave 3, for example, you have to get the gain down as low as possible and get it as close to your face as possible. But something like the Shure SM7B requires, with the GoXLR, about 65 decibels of gain. I found at about 40 or 50 on this setup, I could hear the audio and it was fine, but it was still picking up a lot of background noise. So I've had to do a lot of playing around. So I think you'll find, depending on what mic you've got, that you might need to make a lot of changes. I was really pleased to hear that the Shure works on here, but because the GoXLR has a lot of settings in terms of things like compressor and noise gate settings, that works really well with that microphone, whereas this Wavelink doesn't necessarily have all those things, so it's not quite as powerful. Where this software really shines, though, is in this part, which is the mixing of various things. So you see in the Wavelink software, you have the ability to add multiple different channels to it. You can then select the audio you're looking for. So in this case, the second audio source that I have is the voice chat. Now what we're going to do is go into Discord and select and set my voice chat settings so that they are set up for the microphone and to output in the right way, so you can see what the settings are that we select from the drop down here. This means that when you're talking to friends on Discord, that's pulled through so that you can hear it in your headphones, but also then you can choose the volume and that it goes out to onto your stream. So if you're putting your output into OBS or Streamlabs OBS, for example, which I'll show you later on how to do that, then you can get your friends heard in there and perhaps not as loud as you, so that the focus of the stream, because after all, people are there to watch you potentially. So this is where this microphone, this hardware setup becomes powerful, because you can basically choose what audio sources you're using. And you can select a variety of different audio sources in here, and then choose the volume both that you're hearing and that other people are hearing. So you just go into your channels, and then when people are talking to you, you'll then get the audio going through. And this is why the Wave 3 is a microphone that I recommend if you're looking for an affordable USB microphone, because it has this same sort of setup. So we set that up with voice chat. Now we're going to do music just as a demonstration. With a music channel, you might want to have audio playing to your stream. You might want to have like copyright-free music, like Harris Heller on Spotify. So I'll just show you that. Harris Heller, if you don't know, produces copyright-free music that he lets streaming people use. So you can play the music on your stream without any worry about copyright strikes. It's fantastic. But what you can do is you could set this up in the Wavelink so that it's playing for you but not for your audience, or vice versa, whichever way around you want, or you can adjust it. So what you do is you open up your Windows app device preference settings, and then we're setting the output for Spotify as Wavelink Music. This is basically setting specific apps to have specific outputs. Then in the Wavelink software, we're setting it to music. And then when you're playing Spotify, that will play in that music channel, and then you can adjust the levels of that according to what you want. And then the final output is then all mixed down. So we're basically putting a load of different channels in and setting it up, and then that will get mixed down into one output that you'll then put in your stream. And you'll also hear all of this. So you'll see on each of these things that I'm inputting, there's two volume sliders. The one on the left with the earphones next to it is your volume, and the one on the right is what the stream's hearing. So the final output of what everyone's hearing if you're putting something out to an audience on Twitch or YouTube. So it allows you to customize it, and you can just see how powerful this is, because you can do it with all sorts of things. You can set the game, for example. You can do it with your game. If you can find the game audio, as soon as you play any audio source, it appears in the app volume device preferences. So you can go into that and you can set that out as an output for that specific option within Windows sound settings. So you'll see Windows sound settings, once you plug the Wave XLR, has multiple different device opportunities in terms of the drop down from Wave settings. So you've got like game output, music output, auxiliary, browser, voice chat. You've got all sorts, and you can put them all in here. I'll link in the description to Elgato's setup and explanation videos where they talk a bit more about all this and how it works. But the process for it is really straightforward, and it gives you a really customizable audio experience. And this is one of the main appeals of this device, is it's very flexible. It'll work with multiple different microphones, but it also then gives you software level controls. And you can also obviously use this with Elgato Stream Deck. The final result of all this is then mixed down into a single stream mix, which you can then put into OBS or Streamlabs OBS. So just to demonstrate that, I'm going to go into here. We click on the settings, click on audio, and then you click on your mic audio, and we select from there Wavelink Stream. You'll now see that the audio lines are lighting up in the Wavelink Stream. That's that one audio source that you're putting into OBS. So if you used OBS to try and include any other audio sources in the past, you might have put Spotify in there, you might have put game in, you might have put Discord in, maybe done them as separate audio sources, or had just different other ways of doing it. Here you don't need to do that. You just have one single source that's then controlled from the Wavelink software, and you can then change the levels on it. So you can see what I'm doing here, for example, is I'm setting the volume on the music coming from Spotify to be really low. Alternatively, you could entirely mute it. So this is what I'm saying. If you want to listen to music yourself while you're playing, and you know it's not copyright free, so you're just on Spotify listening to your favorite tunes, you can do that, but then have no music going to your audience. Alternatively, if you want to use copyright free music, but you don't want to hear it yourself because you want to focus on the game, hear the footsteps, work out what the enemy are around you, and just be on top form, then you can do it the other way around. So you can have volume for the audience and no volume at all for yourself. So you get a great setup in terms of the audio offering there, and it's just really customizable. This is one of the things that I was really excited about with the Elgato Wave 3, and they've carried it over into the Wave XLR to make it really powerful. So what you're seeing is a fantastic setup there. However, One big caveat and the final word on it is if you're using it with the Shure SM7B, you will notice that there is a lot of background noise. I've done a lot of playing around with it. There are options potentially that you could do to improve it further. You could try reducing the gain down and things, but I found that I can't quite get it at the right level to not have as much background noise when compared to the GoXLR. However, it still does sound rich, and it's a great sounding microphone when you're using this system. And obviously you have the option of multiple other mics as well. So a great bit of kit, loads of customization options, and plenty that you can do with it. This has been the Provoked Prawn. Let me know in the comments if you've got any questions. Thanks for watching. This has been the Provoked Prawn. Hope you found this video useful, interesting, hilarious, or otherwise. Take a look at these other videos that I think you might find interesting as well. And have a look at the description for links and other information you might find useful. Click that join button to see the benefits of being a member of my YouTube channel. And most importantly, have a great life.